What's good? 10.5, Mr. Herman here, and this is going to be lesson 3, exercise 9G, which is found on a sheet which is encompassed in Microsoft 365, just from a different textbook. And this will be looking at summarizing data, measures of center. So when we summarize data, when we're given data, or a set of numbers namely, we want to come up with a generalization of some sort. A generalization of a set of numbers, because it's one thing to just look at a list of numbers and we get this list, but then with this list of numbers, how do we summarize this? How do we give this set of numbers just one number of some sort? And with this one number as a generalization, how do we find this? What are different ways that we can find this number? So what this exercise will be looking into are the 3 different types of averages. 3 different types of averages, and there are more. The main 3 that we use, we're going to look into. And these averages is just another way of finding the center of data. And we don't physically mean right in the middle, but a way of centralizing a set of numbers. Although one of them, the median, does talk about the physical location of center, but we'll get to that in a second. So the mean and the median are called measures of center because they give some idea of the average or the middle of the data set. So the mean, this little bad boy right here, this is an X with a little line across on the top. This is what we say X bar. Okay, so that little line means bar. So when we talk about an X with a little line, we're just talking about the mean, and the mean is the most common way of getting an average. And it's the most common way. And this is probably the type of way that you've seen during primary school or at the start of your secondary school learning. If there are n values, so if there's a certain amount of numbers, so maybe 10, maybe 12, maybe 15, depending on how many people were asked a question or how many data points were given. If there are n values, x1, x2, x3, and all the way to xn, so maybe if n is 15, so it'll be x of 15, if n is 9, it'll be x of 9, then the mean is calculated as follows. To get the mean, you take the sum of all the data values and you divide it by the number of data values there are there. Okay, we're just used to using or seeing this form of equation. Okay, but the mathematical term of writing this out is getting your x1, your x2, your x3, and all x1, x2, x3 means is, say for instance we had a set of numbers that look like this. I asked a survey question, ages, and I put it in order like this. Okay. The n value is just how many data points there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So our n value in this case is 9. This one right here, this first one, this is our x1. This is our x2. This is our x3. And this goes all the way up to xn. We already know what an n value is, it's 9, so this is our x9. All it is just a label. Okay? It's just a label to talk about which data point of interest. Okay, so maybe I want to say, oh, what was x7? You just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. x7, that data point was 20. So one of the ages was 20. And what this is saying, you get all your data points, you get your labels, add them all up, and divide it by how many there are. This is the most common way of getting a center or an average. The other 2 ways, the other one for centralizing is called the median. And the median is the middle value of the data when placed in order. This is a very important fact. When placed in order from smallest to largest. So from smallest to largest. And we do get questions where a set of data has been provided and they're not placed in order, and people find the middle value. They say, here's the middle value. That doesn't make sense because that middle value isn't really a true representation of the data because we've just taken a random number. So you have to order them from smallest to largest, then take the middle value, okay? And there are scenarios where you can get two middle values depending on how many data points there are within that set. So for instance, when we have an odd number of data values, in this case our n value here is 7, we can abstract a middle value because we'll have an even amount, or we'll have an even distribution on one side that mimics the same onto the other side. And so it's easier to abstract our median in this case as being 5. But this changes when the data values are now an even amount, because we can't necessarily extract a middle value because there's 4 on one side, 4 on the other. So in this case, what we have to do is take the average or the mean of the two middle values. In other words, the average of 20 and 21, this is 20 plus 21 divided by 2. So in this case, this will be 41 divided by 2. And this is where we get our median value of 20.5. It's easy to get the middle value of two data points when they're so close to each other, especially when they're 1 unit away, because it's just the middle value of that. If our two middle values were say 20 and 22, the median in that case would be 21. This is the middle value. But then sometimes it might be harder when you have 18 and 63. What's in the middle value there? Well, that's a bit tricky to do, but all you would do is just add these two up and then divide by 2, and that will give you median. That's assuming that there are even number of values within that data set. The last two facts we're going to look at is the mode. The mode is very simple. The mode is just the most common or the most appeared data value within the set. You can get more than one mode. Okay, this is possible. So if you look back into this example here, we have two sets of popular numbers, 17, and we also have 27 because they both appear twice. We would say that our modes are 17 and 27. Okay. If there are two modes, it's said that this is bimodal, bi just meaning 2. And if each data value occurs just once, there is no mode. Okay, so if all the data values are different, it's said that there is no mode. Okay, you can still work out the mean and the median, you just can't give an answer for the mode. Last fact is an outlier is a score that is much larger or smaller than the rest of the data set. A good example for this is, say for instance, I was to conduct a survey within our classroom of 10-5, and I asked, how old are you at this current point in time? And I will get these ages that range from maybe 14 to 15 to 16. All right, and I'll get one of these 3 different answers, and I'll get a whole list of them, okay, for however many students there are in this class. And then I throw a curveball and I say, hey, I'm gonna throw my age in here, and it's 31. And it's 31, it was 30 before last Saturday, cough cough, nudge nudge, wink wink, clue clue. It's 31 now, and then I say, okay, are there any outliers within this data set? And you'd be like, well, hold on a second, yes there is. 31 seems to be way outside of that data set of 14 to 16. So this 31 right here is considered an outlier. It lies outside of the common range of the data values. Now, it's easy for me to say the 31 is an outlier for this example, but sometimes you might get data sets where an outlier, either before or after the whole range, isn't that simple to determine. There are ways to calculate to see if there are any outliers within a data set, but this calculation is considered really, really tricky because there's quite a lot to work out. But we'll get back to that later down the track. Okay, and that's all there is when it comes to the different ways of summarizing data. There are many other ways, but these are the 3 common ways, mean and median being the most common. And then mode is also common dependent on what type of data value your data set you have. There is no wrong or right process or approach when trying to find the average by using mean, median, or mode. It just really depends on your data set. While some might argue that the mean is easy or better to use for certain data sets than the median, it really just depends on the data sets that you have. Okay. For now, what you guys are going to do is to make sure that you get the 9G questions downloaded from Compass or from Office 365. Attempt the questions, and this will be due by the end of this week on Friday. Stay safe, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.